It's Rhema Afternoons with Tom and Di. And once again, joined by the wonderful team there at World Vision. And Rebecca Armstrong joins us. She is the Head of Advocacy and Justice for International Partnerships for World Vision. Firstly, welcome to the show, Rebecca. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here too.
Well, today we're going to be talking about modern slavery. And it's just interesting as I think about this term, Rebecca, because I think of it in terms of headlines I've read saying, it's a real big problem in the world, but often we don't live our lives really in an awareness of it, particularly, I guess, in a place like New Zealand. But tell us about the issue and how it exists or what it looks like here in New Zealand.
Sure. So modern slavery is an umbrella term that covers issues like forced labour, forced marriage, trafficking in persons, human trafficking. So all of those terms that you're used to, they come under this umbrella of modern slavery, and child labour is included in that as well. It's really difficult to know how many people are in modern slavery in New Zealand, but there have been estimates that there are around 8,000 people, and there are around 50 million people worldwide who are trapped in modern slavery. We talk a lot about our imports in New Zealand that come from other countries through different supply chains. And I think it's really interesting to note that $8 billion or 10% of New Zealand's imports are linked to modern slavery worldwide. So we have a modern slavery problem in New Zealand in the goods that we receive from overseas, but we also have modern slavery in some of our sectors across New Zealand, like horticulture, viticulture, cleaning, forestry. It's an issue that has been prosecuted under our legal system, and it's a difficult issue to count because people don't generally come forward. Often people who are involved in modern slavery are very vulnerable. Often there's visa implications attached to their vulnerability as well. And so it's really hard to say definitively the number for New Zealand.
So let's talk about something that I think we're all going to be thinking a lot more about as we head towards Christmas. Of course, we've got these Black Friday sales that will be coming up in November as well. The things that we buy, the goods that us Kiwis buy, how ethical are they? And when it comes to modern slavery, how do we know the products we're buying are ethically made? It's a pretty tough one, right?
It's a tough one because there's no real onus to show that products are free from modern slavery in New Zealand. We don't have modern slavery legislation, and there's not that really strong transparency around our goods. We did some research last year at World Vision, and we have 10 particularly risky goods that are associated with child and forced labour. And these are electronics, garments, textiles, palm oil, footwear, toys, furniture, coffee, bananas, tobacco, toys. Did I say toys?
You said toys, children. And that does scare me, actually, hearing that one.
Totally. Another really interesting one is Christmas decorations. So I think it's really crazy that, often we are decorating our houses and we're going into this festive season with products that are potentially exploiting people. So I think it's really mindful to have a look at a list like this and understand that these are particularly at-risk products, but also to think about how we're consuming things, to look for companies that do have strong transparency practices, to understand where some of the stronger modern slavery risks are. They're often linked to particular products or particular geographies, and just to be really wary as consumers about the fact that when we continually buy these at-risk goods, we are perpetuating the system that allows modern slavery to flourish.
So it's difficult to get your head around, isn't it? Because do you back away and not consume because we live in a world that's driven by consuming? So it doesn't strike me that that's necessarily realistic as well. But how do you, as you say, engage? In terms of the legislation, that has been in the news in recent years. But are we, there's still opportunities that we have here in terms of legislation. As you said, there has been prosecutions under our legal system, but is there work to be done?
Yeah, World Vision and others have been calling for a modern slavery law, which would require businesses in New Zealand to understand, identify, and mitigate the risks of modern slavery in their operations and their supply chains. This would mean that you would have more transparency to know what products are linked to modern slavery, and as a consumer, you'd be able to make better decisions. It's been really difficult with this particular campaign that we've been working on because there was a commitment under the previous government. There hasn't been a commitment made yet under this government, and at the same time that there's no commitment, the numbers of people in modern slavery continue to increase. When vulnerabilities are higher, like conflict around the world, post-COVID world, modern slavery flourishes. And so I think also when we're heading into more of a cost of living crisis, we're feeling it in New Zealand. Can you imagine how other people can be feeling it too? So yeah, we're really pushing the New Zealand government right now to make a commitment to modern slavery legislation before the end of this year. I don't know if you've seen, but Christopher Luxon, in an interview that he did as leader of the opposition, he said that the issue that he would march in the streets for was modern slavery legislation. He gets it, he understands it, and I think a lot of people thought, with him being our Prime Minister, that it would be a bit of a shoo-in that modern slavery legislation would be prioritised, but there has been no commitment yet. The government's nearly up to a year, or maybe it's past a year in government now. So we're really wanting to see that commitment from the government take place, and we'd encourage anyone to be meeting with their local MPs and their electorates and really pushing for legislation to go through. There's been proposals that have been drafted that are nearly ready to go. So it wouldn't take much for this to get over the line, and it would have an impact on millions of people.
Before we go, Rebecca, just thinking of the next few weeks ahead, because there will be Christmas shopping that's going to be done. There will be, people buying Christmas decorations. How do we go about doing that, knowing that what we're buying is slavery free? Is there a list out there that can help us? Is there a place we can go?
Yeah, I'd really recommend looking at World Vision's Risky Goods report, and maybe I can send you a link to it so you can show your listeners. But also, just if I can talk about my own personal experience this Christmas, I'm going to really think strongly about what goods I'm going to buy for the people that I love. I am going to buy secondhand toys for my kids. I am going to try to prioritize more long-lasting things that are not that fastly produced, because generally when things are really quickly produced, there is that link to modern slavery. I'm going to think about durable ways of buying. And, our kids don't need heaps of things, do they? Like, why there doesn't need to be this idea of having heaps and heaps and heaps of things. I think as consumers, we need to be thinking about how we can reframe our own purchasing power. Look for transparency where possible. Look and understand which products and geographies are risky, and have a second thought about potentially buying from those places, and get creative with buying things. Make Christmas decorations, buy from places like Trade Aid. They're not around anymore, but artisan places that actually employ people and treat them really well. That would be what I would be doing, and I think a lot of other people could do that too.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Well, I guess just highlights that mindset does play, a big part of it, particularly as we approach this season. Rebecca Armstrong with us, Head of Advocacy and Justice, International Partnerships at World Vision, of course, and worldvision.org.nz if you'd like to find out more. Probably a good place to start there. Hey, thanks, Rebecca. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.